The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, and welcome to today's class, which is, of course, the FTCU workshop number 1, and this is Quick Start class number 3, and it's with me, Trevor Conquergood from Sunset Stitches here in beautiful, sunny Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. It is May the 18th today, and I'm recording the special workshop number 1 Quick Start 2.0 classes to just refresh some of the earliest videos that I made with the Floriani software. And really my goal is to create some of the best classes that you would want to start watching when you're brand new with the software. And so if you're brand new with the software, I hope you really enjoy today's class and welcome. If you're attending today's class live, thank you very much to everybody who's attending the class live. As always, there is going to be our questions box and our control panel that you guys can communicate with me during the live class. After the class is over, you guys can send me email, trevor@sunsetstitches.com. So that's today's class, workshop number 1, Quick Start class number 3, May 18th, 2021. And this class will be part of my workshop number 1 series. And so I'll send out the download to all of the members of workshop number 1. But I also intend on making this a free class on my YouTube page. And so you guys are more than welcome to share it with your friends. I'll put all of my Quick Start classes on there so that you guys can share them if you want to. And everybody's welcome to become a member of workshop number 1. These are all the classes that I have for workshop number 1. So you've got, I guess, the Getting Started classes that I recorded a couple years ago. Some of the earliest classes started in the year 2015, and we've been kind of adding to those. And exciting news because there are still new classes coming up yet this year. And so I've got some new class dates to share with you guys. But anybody who's a member of workshop number 1 will receive a download of all of these classes. So if you're a member of workshop 1 and you don't have all those downloads, then you can email me, trevor@sunsetstitches.com, and I'll make sure you get everything you're meant to. In the meantime, there's actually 4 workshops that I've created for the Floriani software. Workshop 1 was the first one. And at the end of workshop 1, we did workshop 2 and then workshop 3. And after my 3rd workshop, I've just been simply adding new classes to workshop 1 and 2 and 3. Plus, I have a workshop for the Fusion software. And so if you own the Fusion software, then you would love the Fusion workshop classes. Now, yes, anyways, if you purchase workshop 1 and you love it, that's the reason to get workshop 2, and same thing goes for workshop 3, because really workshop 1 is the best place to start, and tons of great information. Workshop 2 has all of these class dates and class recordings, and so members that join for workshop 2 will have downloaded all of those classes. And same thing for workshop number 3 here, all of these are the class dates. It's my intention later on this summer to have some new classes for workshop 2 and workshop 3. But for today, and of course this is the Fusion classes, for today we're doing workshop number 1, Quick Start class. So you're also more than welcome to come and join and be a member of Trevor and Friends Embroidery Club. You can purchase all of those workshops and embroidery clubs through any, I guess, Floriani dealership or people that sell R&K products. Yeah, and anyway, contact me, Trevor, at Sunset Stitches for more questions. So upcoming class dates. So this is what's happening. Workshop number 1, class 15 is next. It's a review class, and I actually delayed it by 2 weeks and swapped it out for today. We were going to do the review today, but I'm really hoping that the extra couple weeks gets a few more challenge design entries. And so if you're listening today and you haven't put in a challenge entry yet, go ahead and do one. It's not hard and it's a lot of fun, and all challenge entries are welcome. I'll tell you more in a minute. But the latest news is FTC workshop number 1, Quick Start class number 4 is now booked for June 22nd. And so I'm on a roll and I'm not going to stop now. Anyway, all that said, uh, the challenge review class that I was talking about is a 5-flower challenge. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, go back and review workshop number 1, class number 14, when we introduced this design challenge. But there's 5 flowers, and the idea is that you will digitize your flower and then send it to me for review in the review class. Now, if you're watching this class years later, you can still do the 5-flower review or the 5-flower challenge. I just won't be reviewing your design live in the review class. But that said, I encourage people to do all of the challenges. So what I actually did in class number 14 was opened up a design that was done previously, right? So a previously digitized design, and made changes to it and kind of rebooted it as a Mylar design with some of the newer tools in the software. And so it was an interesting class, but the challenge is really to challenge yourself. So there's 5 flowers, and you can do with them what you want. And I can't wait. Honestly, I've got some really beautiful designs that have been sent to me already from some of our members. And so I can't wait to show you guys the latest flower designs. But it's the 5-flower challenge, and you're meant to digitize a flower. Challenge yourself. So if you're brand new, that might be just getting through digitizing a design. If you've been digitizing for a while, then that might be trying a new technique that you've never done before. But either way, we all appreciate the designs that people make and then share with the class. And so, yeah, anyway, that's the next class. So there were 2 class dates there. I'll share them again at the end, but it's June the 2nd and June the 22nd are the upcoming class dates. So yeah, the 5-flower challenge. If you haven't done it, you still have time. I need to receive entries by May the 30th. So you guys got another about 10 days to make your flowers and send them in. We're going to start with something simple today and then kind of dig in. I've got lots of topics for today, and so let's go ahead and get started. The first topic is an interesting one because I think a lot of times people want to, what we have to learn to stipple around an embroidery design is a valuable lesson for a lot of different uses in the software. So what we're going to do, and I guess I got a bunch of designs open already, but what we'll do is just start with a new and blank empty workspace. And all right, so maybe what you want to do is put a hoop on your screen. You know, I'm just thinking to myself, I never did check my questions box. And at the beginning of class, it's always a good thing to check in, make sure nobody said anything so far, which is fairly normal. But while I'm at it, let's just have a few highs. Say hi if you're attending live. Tell me that everything looks good, sounds good, and everything's technically working. I don't have a class helper or organizer today. And I see I'm looking in the attendees box and I see lots of names that I recognize. And so somebody give me a shout out in the chat box and just let me know. Hi guys. Hi Brenda. Hi Lisa. Thanks guys. Okay, good. So now we know we're all set, and hi to everyone. Veronica. All right, I'm going to put the questions box away and check back with all you guys later. Hi Deb. All right, so now my hoop is on my screen, and I want to add an embroidery design to it. So what I'll do is just make it easy and kind of go shopping for the designs that come, with the software, right? And it could be whatever you want, any embroidery design. Now, with the size of my embroidery hoop, there's not really a lot of room that you would do what I would call stipple around or sew around. So why don't we change the hoop size to see something a little bit larger, right? So you tell the software which kind of format you use, and then you choose a hoop from all of the available hoop sizes. You're able to make your own custom hoop sizes. So if you're buying some other hoops that didn't come with the machine, you can always kind of have your hoop for your screen. But so now you can see that if that was your little embroidery design, you could make, let's say, a quilt block in your hoop and stipple around it. So let's just say there was a block that was an 8-inch square that you wanted to make a quilt square. So first of all, click on the butterflies just to get a sense of how big it is, and it'll tell me that it's 3.79 inches tall, 3.85 inches tall. So fine, it's about a 4-inch square design. And then if you were going to quilt around it, what would help would be like a box, something to represent the quilt block. And so what if we just use our basic shape? We learned last week about the rectangle tool, and I'm pretty sure I told you guys that if you hold the control key down while you draw the rectangle, it'll force it to be a square, and I'll just like draw a square that's approximately, you can see kind of in the little tool tip that grows at the bottom of the square, the size of it. See, 6.62, I make it a little bigger. Now it's 7.27, but it's a nice way to see approximately how big something is, or not even approximately, exactly how big it is. But that said, if you know that you wanted it just to be 8 inches square, it's probably easier just to make the box, call it whatever size you want, come to your properties box in the properties tab over here, and make it exactly 8 inches. And then when you click apply, it's no guesswork, and it's just easily done. I just thought of something I usually turn on when I teach live. I'm going to do it now. It's a little yellow ring. I know that some people have said they really like it when I always remember to turn it on, so I try to remember. It's nothing to do with Floriani software, you guys. It just puts the little yellow ring around my mouse so that when I do the live recordings, it highlights the mouse a little bit better. So there, now that's on. Okay, so now we have this box and we want to stipple around it. And that's fine, and it won't be hard to do, but the question kind of is, where do you want the butterflies in the center of that box, or was it actually meant to be like where you would stipple around the butterflies, but they would be over there, and so you'd have more stipple here and less over there? That is, I guess, not to say right or wrong. There may be people who would argue and say, no, that's wrong. If you meant for them to be centered, then what you can do is select both things by dragging a box around it. You see that? Click off to let go. Click on the butterflies to select that, and it's all grouped together. So just clicking on it selects the whole group. Click off to let go. But there's also this box. Now, if I click on and drag a selection window that's larger than both items, it will select them both. Now, if you wanted to make this butterflies perfectly centered in your square, we have tools up here, this little yellow group right here called Align, and notice the little triangle beside the Align tool. Click on it, and it flies open and shows you a whole series of alignment tools. And so the one that I'll use right now is called Center Selected Objects. See that? And it kind of like basically will take whatever you have and center them all to each other. Now, if you were also thinking, well, why don't you put it in the center of your hoop? That's a different tool, same button. Now we go to this one beside the Center Selected Objects to Center to Rulers is the one you're looking for, right? Center to Rulers will put the whole thing in the center of the hoop, but what was more important to me was getting the butterflies in the center of the square. So now that the butterflies are in the center of the square, I can ensure that, they're balanced when I stipple around them. You can always center it to your hoop, at any time. And even when you save the design, the machine, you can always auto center it on the machine too, right? So it'll normally go just right to the center of the hoop. Okay, so mainly the hoop is a guideline to show you the size of your hoop, not exactly change the location of your embroidery within that hoop. I would say, if you had a PES formatted design, then you would still do that at the machine, kind of at sewing time, if you wanted this box to be like, for example, for whatever reason, sewn at this sort of bottom edge of your hoop, not outside the hoop. That wouldn't probably work real good, but inside. So anyway, the point is you can auto center them to center your hoop right here and auto center to each other. Now, how do I stipple? So I've got a box, and if I click on it, and I have a tool called Stipple Fill. So when I click on it, it'll stipple fill it in. And that we have all kinds of one-click wonder styles of embroidery, right? Down along the bottom of the screen are all of the styles of embroidery, and there's lots of them to choose from. The stipple takes a moment to fill in. Did you notice that it took a while to do it? It's because there's a little bit of sort of a science to it. Notice that all of the stippling never crosses itself. It's learned how, and it'll have one starting point and one ending point that will match exactly, and that stippling will never cross the road and fills in the whole shape. Now, right now, it's not what you had in mind, Trevor, which was stipple around. Problem here is it's stippling right over top. So a fail, right? We're going to have to try something else. I'm going to just remove the stippling from the butterflies. So let's click on our square and click on the little yellow artwork tool, which was kind of like an eraser. We're right back to a piece of artwork again. Because remember, when we drew the rectangle, it was a piece of artwork. You know, what kind of embroidery do you want? Run stitch outline, satin stitch outline, maybe you want a 2-color wavy fill. Either way, sews right over top of your butterflies, right? A mesh fill over top of the butterflies. So how do you get it to go around the butterflies, Trevor? That's kind of the point of this bit. And so the point is you have to define around what is around the butterflies. And there's a variety of ways of doing that. If you're like, I just want there to be a shape around it, like on my own shape, then, sorry, that's the wrong tool. Use your shape tool. Here, get a pentagon and do a pentagon shape that goes around your butterflies. You know, and basically you have to draw the shape. So what I'm saying is, to stipple around, you need to define the inside shape of the stipple as well as you define the outside shape. So see how I'm drawing a pentagon that will become the inside boundary of the stipple. So here's the outside boundary. The fill is currently it's set as a mesh fill. And what I'll do is I'll just make it artwork. So I have 2 pieces of artwork, one for the outside boundary, one for the inside boundary. And I'm going to select both. So I'll hold down my shift key or my control key and click in the sequence box to select and highlight both of those items. So those 2 things are selected. And the tool you want to learn about, and I'll just maybe do it once or twice, is right here. It's the combine tool. So the key word of this whole thing, I probably shouldn't have waited to say it so long, is you have to combine the 2 shapes together to be able to stipple around. So notice when I hit combine that it becomes one single shape that has both an inside and an outside boundary. And notice if I click on the little paint bucket up here to fill it in with color, that it shows an outside boundary filled with color to the inside boundary. And so that becomes, now you could do a run stitch outline around both sides. You could do a satin stitch outline around both sides. You can do a solid embroidery fill around both sides. You could do a mesh fill around both sides, or you could do a stipple around the design. So that's how you stipple around. And it's by combining 2 shapes together. That's really the key thing that I think people are looking for. And it doesn't just come into like stippling around. A lot of times it's like I've got, let's just see here. I'm going to go to my custom shape library. And in our last class, I shared with you guys this little black cat as an artwork file, right? We were talking about custom shapes. So notice the black cat has white eyes. Now, the white eyes are actually holes of the black shape. So if I put this over top of something, you will see the other thing through the eyes. The eyes are voided areas. They're not filled in. Now, so it's the same technique that we use to stitch around the butterflies that we use to make these eyes. So for example, if I click on fill, you'll fill in your black cat with thread, but there'll be void, no stitches where the eyes are. Same idea. So let's go back on artwork. And then notice they're like little islands inside of a, big country called the cat. And if you just click up here, so that's where combine was, and it's right beside it is called break apart. So the opposite of combine is break apart. And now that I break my shape apart, I've got my outer boundary, I've got a left eye, and I have a right eye. I actually have three shapes. Now you could do it differently, because you could take the body, fill that in with thread, and then put the eyes on top in a different color, but make them so on top, not behind. So you see what I'm saying? So it's, if you want them to be a void like that, you select everything and then you combine it. And that makes the inside whole boundaries a whole of the outside boundary, basically. Yeah. So that's how you can stipple around. Now, if you wanted to stipple around, let's just do another one. And so then we'll move on. But I'm just going to show you another tool that would be helpful here. And that would be the, what I'm trying to say is the Create Outlines tool. So when you select on your embroidery design, there is, so let's just say you were going to do the same kind of idea, a stipple around, and you knew you wanted a little shape to help, create that inside boundary. And so that's right here, Create Outlines. And when you say Create Outlines, how many ripples do you want? So I'll just make one, because I just wanted to have an outline to make a, stipple around. So one outline at whatever distance you want away from the bunny, say okay, and it will make that one outline. Now it's obviously in white because I can't see anything, so let's select that color and make it be hot pink. So you can see the outline that was created. Why is there a little bump in the road? Because it's going around the whiskers that were, because it can see all of the stitches. So it traces around it. So then, of course, you still need your quilt block shape, right? So take your rectangle, hold down Control, rectangle, hold down Control, draw a box, a square, select it, use your properties box, make it be a full 8 by 8. So it's 8 and it's just a little bit over 8. So I'll make it exactly 8. And then I'll select all of the items and tell them to auto center to each other. Now I need to finish the shape. Remember, I've got the inside around the bunny and I've got the outside square. What I need to do is select them both and combine them. And now I can click on stipple or whatever kind. Now, I have some stitch types here that came from Total Quilter. So if you own Total Quilter, then you might have other kinds of stitches that aren't part of FTCU, like, for example, the Shape Echo, where I could choose a shape like a flower or a diamond or whatever, and have a flower shape kind of echo out around the bunny rabbit like that. So that's pretty cool. So that's how you stitch around, and that is an example. So what I'm telling you is that when I select this box, there's a group of 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches down here that are actually only on my screen because I have both Total Quilter and FTCU. The rest of the ones along the bottom are pretty much part of the FTCU software. And that's kind of the technique of doing the stippling around with the FTCU software, because actually in the Total Quilter software, there is a tool that's basically called Auto Quilt Block Trapunto, and it creates kind of like a trapunto stitch as well as the, anyway, we're not going to do Total Quilter today. I'm trying to stick to FTCU and how you do it in FTCU, but that is a quick topic around how to quilt stipple around a design. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on. And so that's the little gingerbread man that I did. I'll share the design with you guys. I didn't even manage to get him opened up. I think he's in there. Is he on my screen still? Let's see. No. Well, that's okay. I'll share this dimpled gingerbread man with you guys since I shared the photo. But we're gonna move on to text today, you guys. And so we're gonna start with one of my favorite kind of text tools, and we're gonna go through a whirlwind tour of some of the text tools for the next probably 30 minutes or 20 minutes. So when I go into the software, and I want to create an embroidery design with a text element, one of the best ways to do it is to use a tool that's right here called Font Play. And the reason why Font Play is so cool is it makes it more visual. So here's all the fonts that you own, and you can just click on a font, and it's going to bring up the sentence, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. You can see it in 3D view if you want to, but the idea is that's a sentence that has all of the letters in the alphabet. That said, you can also just click on letters and see the letters of the alphabet in whatever font you click on. And if you click on custom, and this is what I love about it, and now I can put in here whatever FTCU workshop and click OK. Now it's going to show me my words that I've entered in whatever font I look at. And so now I can go scrolling through the fonts of our software. And when I change it, it'll actually show me exactly what it's going to look like in ours. Once I click on one of these, I can click with my mouse to select another one, or you can actually just use like the arrow key on your keyboard and kind of just quickly mouse through them and visually look for something that starts to make you happy. Now, if you notice one that seems to be missing some of the letters, that's usually because I've typed in upper and lowercase, and some of the fonts don't have lowercase letters, and so they may show as kind of like a void. But you'll see when I come across one like that, you'll notice it. These are applique shapes. So there's one that has no lowercase. Applique number 2 is obviously uppercase only because I've typed in FTCU workshop, and we're only getting the FTCU W. Right? So that's because that particular letter style doesn't have all of the characters. So the reason I like it this way is because I can really tell what they look like and kind of get an idea of which one I like the most. Other cool things about this little window are the filters. So you can basically see, if you want to look at your true type fonts, this entire list will change and it will show you the fonts that are part of your computer. So now you're going to be looking at not embroidery fonts, but sort of computer generated fonts that could be converted into embroidery if you wanted to, or just kept as artwork. The embroidery fonts are the ones that come with the software, and there are several hundred that get installed with the FTCU, more than 250 different fonts that get installed. And just by clicking here, you can kind of see what they're going to turn out like. And so the other thing is you have a filter. So if you knew a specific kind of font you wanted to find, maybe a script font or run stitch style font or whatever, you kind of had in mind, you can filter them. So if I say script, then it'll only show me fonts that were kind of determined or, labeled as script. And so I can, scroll through those and find something that makes me happy. And then, you click apply, obviously, when you found the one that you want, or I guess not apply, but import is the word I'm trying to say. So you can keep viewing your words, go through, change the color, print a template for it. But when you're ready to use these letters and you're happy or done, just say import and it actually comes right onto your screen ready to go. So that's kind of a cool way to get started with text. It's called the Font Play tool, and it's just a quick way to start a new text element. Just come in here, choose your font. And so it always starts out with the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. But that said, of course, I usually go to custom and then type in my own, custom letters kind of thing and bring them onto your screen. Yeah, just like that. Import the whole alphabet in if you want to. So Font Play is a great way to get started because it's so visual, and there are so many fonts that it helps you to really kind of decide which ones you like. The next thing I thought we would do is keep talking about fonts, but now what I'd like to do is go through just the basics of text. Before I spend a ton of time on text, my intention today, it's my quick start guide, is to cover as much ground as I can in the least amount of time. And so with all that said, I would like to also suggest that you check out the RNK Software Club. It was not too long ago, so I want to say let's say it's 2021, in April or maybe in March 2021, there were videos that were recorded for the RNK Software Club weekly video series on text. There was part 1, part 2, and part 3, and those are also really great videos to go through the basics of text. Now, all that said, I'm going to pop back in the software, and I'm going to just bring up my text again. So normally, if you're wanting to sort of get to all of the text tools, you come to here because there's other styles of text, I guess. So generally speaking, what are the tools? Horizontal text, circular text, text along a vertical baseline, text along a special path baseline, monogramming, import true type fonts as artwork, and this last tool here, you would not have this last tool unless you own Lettering Master. That is the create a new font tool, and that's something we can talk about. Oh, excuse me, you guys, that just came right out of nowhere. That is a tool that we'll talk about another day. But generally speaking, the first ones are part of what's called, you would have them in your FTCU software. Horizontal, circular, vertical, along a path, in a monogram shape, and as artwork are all tools part of FTCU. And when you click on the text tool, what it does is it gives you a little letter A on your sort of cursor, and you click where you want the text to go. And it puts down the words my text, and it puts them in whatever text you used most recently. And so now you have your text properties box, and you can still change the letter style. Even if once you've placed your text down, then you go through and decide what letter style do I want to have. And there are hundreds of letter styles to choose from. You can mathematically set things like the letter height. If you wanted it to be 1 inch tall exactly, just come in here and set it as 1 inch high lettering. If you want the line spacing, so that kind of relates to if you have text that's on 2 lines like this. So let's just make that be like my and then enter text so that it's 2 lines. That way when I click apply, you'll see text on 2 lines. So the line spacing is 25% of the letter height. If I make it 50% of the letter height, that would be twice as much space between my lines of text. And so this is the idea. You can set the width of your text. So I'll make it 120. That will make it wider. If I make it 80, that'll make it skinnier. Spacing refers to the space between the letters. If I put it, let's say 4, that'll put lots of space between each letter. If I put it at 0, it'll leave it at kind of like default spacing, no extra space added. Now, on the topic of spacing, a lot of times we like to adjust them, especially when you get something like, let's just put in here the letter A, V, M, N, O, P, like those kinds of different shapes of letters. And then it really depends on the letter style. So notice how the A and the V appears to have more space than, let's say, the M and the N. And in that case, then that's where these little handles kind of come in, because the blue handles will affect all of the letters after that handle. So when I move the V over, it also pulls the M and the N over with it. The gold handles are the opposite. They're the ones that would allow you to take one letter and move it independently of all the rest of the letters. And you can even move your letters away from their baseline. You can resize one letter bigger than the rest of your letters. You can also rotate one letter to a different rotation point than the rest of your letters. And so that's kind of how it works, right? So generally speaking, when you're doing text and you use your select tool, you can click on it just like any time to select the text. And notice that all of the text that I made is in one text segment. Each group that I made is in one. In other words, my text with the letters is one bit. There was the one that we did, the script, the FTCU workshop was another bit. Then we've got this whole alphabet that we did, and that was another one. And any one of these, I can still pick them up and say, well, I think I'd like to see the alphabet in circus font instead. And so now I click apply, and it updates from whatever font it was to the circus font. And so again, sometimes it just takes a moment for the software to complete a task. And so if you ever see a little spinning wheel spinning, that's a good indication you need to be patient. Just wait for it to finish. So now I can get a look at what that circus letter style would be. So text, the basics of text, when you click on your select tool, you can select the text, whatever text is selected. Now, if you want to adjust the letter spacing, remember I showed you how to use the handles, that's when you're in what's known as edit text mode. And right now I'm in what's known as select mode. When you select something, you can click and drag to change its location. You could use a corner handle to resize it, smaller or larger. You can use the side handles, so I'll wait for that to happen. The side handles being this one or this one, so the center, not in the corner, but in the center of the side, that handle will stretch it, so making the text therefore taller, but not wider at the same time, because when you use a corner handle, the software will maintain the proportions of height and width, but when you use the center handles on the sides, it will not maintain the aspect ratio, and it will stretch your shapes, so therefore taller or skinnier, wider or more narrow letters. And so that's what I'm saying is when you use the select tool, those are your capabilities. Move it, delete it, resize it. But if you right click, you can go to edit text mode. And when in edit text mode, you get different options. And one of the options that you get are the little blue handles that will allow you to move the other letters after the handle. And the gold handles that will allow you to move one letter at a time. So just selecting one letter and bring it and put it wherever you want to. And so that's an important distinction to understand, is how you can click on select mode and have your letter selected, but then right click and go into edit text mode to change the lettering handles. So these are kind of the quick basics of text, and that's kind of how it works. If I click on my text tool and I click on a new empty text frame again, and it's always going to start with the words my text in whatever font you used most recently. Maybe I'll just show you that they have little symbols in front of them. So BL standing for block, and O stands for outlines, and the little F means it's a custom made font that I made myself. And so HW means it's a handwritten font. SC means it's from the script fonts. Any of the fonts that have the little red O in beside them means that they have other options like outline styles. And so if I put up this George letter style, now because it has the O, I can look below and see that there's also a run stitch and an applique version. So if I click on the run stitch version, it takes and just shows those letters as a run stitch outline. And if I go to the applique version, it will put the applique steps for each letter. Now, it doesn't look super fantastical right now because the column width of the applique is so fat that it's sort of covering up what is meant to be the insides of the applique, the fabric. But that's because of the size of the letter. You're appliquing letters that are 0.79 of an inch tall. And so if you were to change that to be, maybe a 2-inch letter or a 3-inch letter, then there would be more room for the fabric to show on the inside of the applique. So that's the kind of issue there, was just we had to consider what we were making and do an appropriate size. So one letter style has all these different versions of it. And so there's hundreds and hundreds of options. And of course, it just goes on, you guys. I could keep going on, and I will go on kind of as much as I can cover in a short period of time like this. And so when I click on the text tool, Notice the other options. So circular, this is vertical, this is along a path. Those are different baselines. Now I can get, this one here has a horizontal baseline. I could select it and right click and notice the edit text. And then right click, and now you have circle frame, vertical frame, monogram frame. And so if you knew that you had, text, but it was like, oh, I meant for that text to be in a circle frame, you can change it after it's already made. So you can make it as a circle frame, but you can also convert to and from. So if you already have text, so let's do this. I'm going to click on a new embroidery workspace and then fly on over to our kind of browser window and put some embroidery on the screen, and then click on this text tool and choose circular text. And when you click on your workspace, it puts the frame around the embroidery. So I love that part about it. Then you can obviously change your text and make it say whatever you want. Trevor, click apply. If you're not sure if the text has upper and lower case and all of the different symbols that you might want to have, you can hover over and it'll show you all of that information in the kind of graphic over the image. You can also click this little question marks here and it brings up the same information in a little kind of floating window. It tells you more information like what's the suggested minimum and maximum size. So this text apparently should look good from 0.3 of an inch to up to 0.8 of an inch. So could I not use it larger than 0.8 of an inch? Yes, you can, but you may have to make modifications to the properties to be successful. That's the sweet spot. So there's a lot of information that the software can kind of give you like that when you do it. If you come in here and change it, let's do like just a basic kind of block style font and click apply, and then that's an uppercase. But if you also wanted to have text on the lowercase, you can come and see there's upper and lower. And so I'll put my last name under, my first name above. And so it's a perfect circle, right? And if you want to make that circle, notice the handle still, right? So when you're in edit text mode, you have the little blue handles for doing your sort of extra sort of letter spacing or enveloping. You also get an extra blue handle here, which will set the radius of your circle. And not only that, it'll set the rotation or the entry point for the letters, and you can kind of have fun and just spin them around, but you're meant to kind of decide, okay, where would it look the best? And then that's the radius that we set now. The black handle is how big or how small will your letters be on that radius. So you can really easily adjust up text like that. I think Floriani's text is some of the easiest text to use once you learn the basic functions of it and kind of set up your embroidery designs. Really, it's very, very fast. And what I love about it is the extremely good quality of all my stitch outs. I have lots and lots of great examples of doing designs using our built-in fonts. They work great. And of course, you can always convert those true type fonts. So we'll want to get to that here in a minute. Sorry, I had to take a sip of my drink. So these are the basics of text, and we could go on, but it's not, I don't want to go make a whole class about text today. So there may be more things you could learn about text. Quick things to kind of help you learn about them would be when you have your text and you have the edit text frame with all of the little handles like the blue ones and the gold ones. Notice that the center ones will do something called enveloping, and you can grab on those handles and change the shape of the frame, of the outside shape of the letters, and they fit to that frame. You can right click and reset the frame. You can right click and choose different types of envelope frames. And so this is a bridge with a convex top. So it's a straight bottom with a convex top, and you can make it more dramatic. If I right click and reset the frame, oh, I clicked on, yeah, so anyway, right click and normal frame, And then notice the handles on the corners, instead of giving that circular one like the center ones do, they give a perspective. So they'll make your embroidery go from bigger to smaller, kind of like this, and you can combine them together. And so really you can make unique and interesting shapes while doing what we call enveloping. And on it goes. There's a lot of fun with the text. So beyond the text basics, monogramming, right? So monogramming is kind of like special because basically it just kind of automates the putting of the, one letter smaller, one letter bigger. There's different monogram fonts. Some of them have little doodads like that, little extras that you might find kind of cool. So when you click on the text tool, if you start a monogram, it starts out with ABC. And then you put in your initials, whatever they may be. But now your fonts are limited to the ones that were meant for monogramming. And notice it'll always make the center one bigger, or it will fit them into a special kind of style frame of some kind. Any of the ones that have see how that one has little doodads around it? That's an indication that that's a letter style that has extra things about it. And you'll notice, for example, this one makes a diamond shape. So now my letters, ABC, will be fit into that kind of diamond shape, and you have these different decors. So if you choose the diamond decor, it'll put a diamond around it. Or if you choose one of these cute little kind of like corner, emblems, it'll put them in the little spots just outside of it to create a little. So that's the cool thing about the monogramming tool, is it's very quick to just start up a new monogram. And it's based upon ABC. Can you put in like Trevor? Yeah, but it gets kind of confused, and it doesn't, the decor doesn't line up properly. And so you'd probably end up having to like break it apart and do it another way. So it's really not meant to be, it's meant to go with sort of your 3-color monograms. Could you do a 2-color one? Click apply. So you see, it's not possible. It's just not fine-tuned to be, it's kind of meant to work best with. So if I did it like this, what would happen then? Well, okay, so now I have to select it. If I want to be able to make those little things closer and kind of more balanced, what I would do is right-click, go back into that edit text mode, and take the little gold handles and move them over. See what I mean? So it's just not instantly perfect, but you can still play with it and kind of make you happy. So that's monogramming, right? It's meant to be based on a 3-color letter. That's kind of how it was designed to work, but you can put in whatever I guess you want. So mine is Trevor, Conquer Good, middle initial Howard. And so you put it in like that, or maybe you like it the other way, Trevor, Howard, Conquer Good. That's kind of up to you how you like to stitch out, or how do you write your initials? Is it a monogram or just initials? Anyway, the monogramming tool is cool because it has extra decor and kind of the ability to force letters into special monogram shapes for you. So it just makes it quick and easy, really, to put together your little monograms. And then I stitched out my little monogram for you guys like that. So Trevor, Howard, Conquer up here in Canada, it stands for Tim Hortons Coffee. Yeah. Anyways, kind of a joke, but so now we're going to talk about text, but as true type font artwork. Now, true type font is what that true type font refers to. The fonts that come with Windows. They're not the ones that came with the Floriani software. Now we're talking about the fonts that come with Windows. And first of all, here, let's start up a new empty workspace. Let's click on our basic text tool and just get the words my text in horizontal text with whatever font you used most recently. It's Anna. And these fonts are all the fonts that come with the software. They're the embroidery fonts. They're already created as embroidery elements and have been designed to, embroidery well. That said, if I click this little checkbox right here, TTF, now my fonts list has changed and is now the fonts that came with Windows. and you can scroll through and choose a font and click apply. And what it'll do is it will instantly convert your embroidery into whatever font you chose, but this was automatically digitized. And so there are times where the software doesn't always think the way that I think, and I might want to edit them later, and that's possible. You would need to right click on the text and do what's known as break up your text. Because when you break up your text, the software now thinks of it as the letter M and the letter Y, and it's no longer a text segment, but they're paths. And with the satin path, you gain extra abilities, like, for example, I can go into shape mode and I can interact with the actual shape points that make up this little letter Y, to make them be, whatever kind of letter Y that you want it to be. And so this is the idea behind it, is that you can start with instant embroidery results, but if you don't like what the software made, you can go in and start to take charge of it and change it in some way. And so I'm just kind of playing around with the letter Y to show you that it doesn't always have to be kind of as perfect as you wanted to. This is a side note, if you ever notice an area where there looks like there's no stitching, it's probably because it's too long to be a satin stitch. Notice if I measure with my ruler, it says it's almost 1/2 inch long, and the software is kind of letting me know that I'm in the danger zone where it's really too long for my machine to stitch it. And what it's suggesting is that I might want to put like a split on it. So change from no splits to maybe I'll put a random split on my design. You could decide what the maximum and minimum stitches will be. So those are kind of weird numbers. I'll put them at a maximum of 7 and a minimum of, let's say, 3, and click apply. And so you can see what it did. It kind of split up that one side of the letter Y as opposed to having a gap in it. Or you could have maybe just changed it over to be a pattern fill. That would have been kind of another solution to the long stitches, a pattern fill. So, okay, I'm kind of a little bit off topic, but the concept is true type font embroidery. So if you have text already, it can be made as a true type font. Now, it works way better if you start with embroidery and convert it into a true type font. In other words, start with Anna and then check off true type fonts and change to another true type font. And that causes the software to redo the auto digitizing, and you get a nice clean result. Did you notice that, how I did that? So always start with an embroidery font, swap to a true type font, and it gives it the best results. Now, another thing that I like to do, and the tool's actually in here, is this one. It says import true type font as artwork. So in that case, you come in here and put the words my text or, Trevor, whatever you want it to say, and you select your letter style. So say select. Now you can scroll through all the different letter styles that your computer has. You can now choose between things like regular, bold, bold oblique, that kind of thing, and choose a text size. I usually go for the biggest size. I get a nice big, and then I can always sort of size it down later. But so what you'll see is we're going to get the word Trevor in this fancy black ladder font that I've downloaded and added to my computer, and it comes in, but not as embroidery. It came in as just the artwork shapes. So now there's no automation. I just said, fine, bring me the word Trevor, and I'll select the letter R, and I'll decide what kind of stitching it's going to get. If it's going to be filled in, or if it's going to be outlined, and if you just want a nice run stitch outline, you can select it all up, select all of them, and tell it to run stitch outline them, or fill them in, or do something creative with them and try a mesh fill on them, or something unique like that. So the concept here is, and I think I had the design open. Yeah. So I did my initials. So let's do this. Go import true type font as artwork, type in like a TC, and just select your basic kind of block font. So I know that something like Bauhaus is a nice round one. and I'll do it in regular instead of oblique. Doesn't matter. It's whatever you want. No, let's do it in oblique this time to make it different and say okay. And so the letters TC come in. Now, what I was trying to show was because it's artwork, I could do whatever kind of style of embroidery I want. Select the letter T, click here to fill it in, or click here to satin outline it. If you want both, well, then you would need to make a copy of it, right? So copy and paste so that there are two letter T's. Make the one that sews first be the fill, and the one that sews second be the outline. If you want them to be the same color, you're great. If you want them to be different colors, well, then you have to select your outline and change its color. Whenever I do stuff like fills and outlines, I always try and maximize the overlapping. In other words, I'll take that fill and I'll use our properties box and I'll come into the pull compensation tab and I'll increase the pull comp to maybe like, I don't know, 0.5 of a millimeter. Watch the edge of the dark blue shape there. It just fattened it up a little bit. Yeah, and that's just a little kind of pro tip that I can give you after years of doing it, is that I often kind of, when there's two colors that overlap, I increase the pull compensation a little bit. So now you've created a letter T that has a fill and an outline. And so that's the tool that I like to use, is what's known as importing the true type fonts just as plain old artwork, and then you decide how the embroidery goes. Okay, so moving right along, because I have so many topics to include in a good quick start class. Needs a great variety so that you can learn as much as possible in the shortest length of time. And so the next one's kind of one of our fun tools. It's called Wordplay. And the Wordplay tool allows you to choose a shape and then fill it in with words. And so I'm going to go ahead and pop that up. What I can tell you is we are planning an update on Wordplay. And so probably by the time you watch this video the next time, in other words, in the not too near distant future, there's an update to the Wordplay tool, and you'll learn about it in the software. Once it comes out, you'll know if it's happened already. Basically, if it's any time after about June 2021, it'll have already happened, because that's kind of the intended release date for our next software build. But this is the tool. It's right here. Kind of looks like a little diamond, almost like a little diamond quilt block, really, but a little diamond shape. When you click on it, it gives you the Wordplay wizard. Starts with a little apple shape. You can click here to choose any shape you want, and you can add your own shapes to the list. I chose, there's like the outline of a girl's head, so that's what I chose. Now, it says here the size of that girl's head is about 2.96 inches tall, so not room for a lot of lettering. If it's only a 3-inch size thing, and my letters are set right now on the right-hand side at 0.8 of an inch, and it's going to put the words word and play. Well, okay, I'll tell you that, so girls, I kind of took it like girls are smart. And now it's a comma that separates the words. And that's what's changing, just FYI. So the next time you learn about this, we will have changed it so that you can actually include commas in your Wordplay. So now the idea is you might want to do two words that go together that need a comma or something like that. And so we found a different way to create the break between the words. But currently, the way it works today is it's a comma separation. So smart, girls are smart, girls are I don't know, all kinds of wonderful things. You'll see the stitch out in a minute. Funny, right? Girls are strong. And you can choose as many words as you want, just keep comma separating them. Now, if you, at any point in time you want to see what it's kind of looking like, you click generate. So generate is your temporary, like, just show me what it looks like now button. But you can click generate at any time, because the words that go onto the girl are kind of like, it's like having them in a little flour sifter, and every time you shake every time you push the little generate button, it's going to shift all the words around and place them in new places. So it's not wrong just to keep clicking generate until you get a kind of a layout that makes you happy. Now it takes a minute to go through and kind of build this little thing, but the biggest challenge that's happening right now is that the girl's size is not really big and the letters are kind of large. And so how many 1-inch size words can you put in a 3-inch size thing? You know, that's now it's allowed to make the letters smaller as much as 10% of original and bigger up to 100. In other words, nothing will be bigger than 0.8 of an inch, but it could be all the way down to like 10% of that. So small. And so that's what you'll see. So see it put smart, funny, strong over and over to make the smallest ones, because the column is so big, it uses a run stitch lettering. You can click here to change the letter style if you'd like to see what they would look like in a different letter style. And when you click generate, it goes to work again. You can see your results with the 3D preview, like to make it more realistic embroidery. You can control the units of measurement from metric to imperial, so that when you're over here, you can see it in either metric or imperial. Down at the bottom here, you can control the angle. So notice right now it's set on any angle, but I could choose just horizontal or just vertical, etc., etc. And so the idea there is that you could, you could have any two of the three. So have horizontal and vertical, but not diagonal, or any would be all three. Each word can be on any angle. Yeah, you also have the maximum number of colors. So right now it will be a maximum of 15 colors, but if you only wanted to sew 4 colors in your design, you can change that to 4 and it'll use a maximum number of colors of 4. The last thing I would probably do is adjust the size of it, because if I made it, a bigger embroidery design, more like 7 or 8 inches, there'd be lots more room in here for the words that we chose. And so if I go ahead and click the width and change that to be kind of like an 8-inch size, that makes the height 9 inches. And again, you click generate and it starts from the beginning and starts kind of going through processing a little bit, and, just basically creating all the words. One of the biggest questions I get about this tool is, could I do it with more than one letter style? Because you only have the ability to choose one letter style. And so the answer is that you can get it to you can work with more than one letter style, but the tool will only give you one. And so what I do is I start out with the one that, whatever one you think you'll use the most of, I guess. And then you can use like go into the software, select the different words and change them. Is kind of, so when this is done, I'll show you an example of doing that. So basically it's just about generating the words, smart and funny and strong inside of the girl's head. And you could keep modifying as long as you want, but when you're done, you say, okay, and it'll bring all of that embroidery onto your screen. And every one of those lettering, segments, one of those words becomes an individually selected segment. So just notice if I zoom in over top of the head here and I can see the word funny, I can click on it to select it. Now I could take that word funny and say, that's awesome, but maybe I'd like that one to be in breezy. And so now I'm getting some different, and I think I'll just make it smaller so it fits in that space and doesn't overlap, and that's kind of really up to you. And you can be like, what, there's too many in here. I'm going to select that one and I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to resize it and rotate it, and that's kind of the fun of this, is you get to make your own sort of lettering layout inside of a cool shape, like a girl's head, but it could be any shape. So just so you know, the outline is basically based upon an artwork shape. So any artwork shape that you've got could become the sort of outside frame. In other words, if you take the pencil tool and you click, 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 and you're just clicking away, maybe you put a photograph on your screen so you could trace out the shape of Grandpa's exact headstone, and then you put some poems in there, people's names or dates and stuff like that. So you draw your shape. If you want to use that as a wordplay shape, you select it and you look under your tools menu where it says save wordplay shape. Now there's a bunch of different save options here. Save custom shape would put it into your custom shape library, but save wordplay will put it in your wordplay library. So yeah. So okay. Wordplay is a ton of fun. I haven't checked my questions box for a while. I'll pop it up and see how everybody's doing. Hi, Brenda. Thanks very much. Brenda says my audio is wavered. I hope it was just me wavering, because I do have a desktop mic and sometimes I lean in and out and I fade back a little bit. If that's the case, I'll try to sit still here. Anyway, I haven't had any other comments about it, so hopefully all is good. And let's just keep going. So I'll check back on you guys in another few minutes. If you have any questions you want to ask, go ahead. But I'm going to go ahead and keep moving. So the next topic is, and I guess a couple of photographs of my word plays. I know what I did. Notice here's the design. I had the finished design here. Notice the way the word beauty kind of wraps with the shape a little bit. Sorry, not beauty, beautiful. Watch if I select that word beautiful and right click and go to edit text. It's an envelope shape. Can you see how I used the enveloping tool to create a word beautiful that made it look like it kind of fit into a certain spot like that? So anyway, that was just a little thing I was trying to add into it. Kind of fun, but that's the enveloping, right? You can choose make an envelope to fit your shape. And you can see here how I changed and added a bunch of different sort of letter styles to do my little kind of wordplay design. Yeah, so girls are sweet and they're silly, and I got giggles and fun, and so anyway, loving. Okay, you guys, so the next topic is applique. And the applique tool is got a lot of options to it. So we'll talk about a couple of ways that you could use it. Sorry about that. Lots of thirsty today. So let's let's go back into the software. And the ice cream artwork I can share with you guys with today's class, but I have it in my custom shape library. And so, it's an artwork file that I saved to custom shapes. I'll share with you guys the applique designs I made, plus the actual custom shape for the ice cream cone. So here's the little ice cream cone. And like always, it's artwork, right? I brought it. The custom shape has no thread. The ice cream is a shape and the cone is a shape. And so it was generally speaking, this is two simple art pieces of artwork, one for the top and one for the bottom. So to make it into applique, you click on your shape. And the tool is down here at the bottom. It's this green one that looks, I don't know, a bit like an accordion or something like that. But basically, when you click on the green kind of tool that says applique, it will convert this into an applique embroidery. Here, let's do this. Let's select all this stuff that I just got, copy it, and put it onto a new empty workspace so there's nothing else in our design. Let's click paste. So notice that the ice cream shape no longer says artwork, it says applique. And if you click the plus beside it, it actually has 1, 2, 3 color stops that are associated with it, and big red stop signs with instructions that tell you how to sew it out. And so that's one of the cool things, is when you use the applique tool, it will actually put sewing instructions into your design. If I select on that shape, the properties box has changed to the applique properties box. So the first thing I'd like to point out is the type of applique. You can change the cover stitch. So that's a satin edge cover stitch. I'll try a blanket edge cover stitch, or a motif edge cover stitch. So one way or another, what kind of stitches will be going around your applique? The first two steps will remain the same. The first step is run stitch, machine stops, you place your fabric down, start the machine up, another run stitch. Now the machine stops, you trim around the applique shape to get rid of the excess fabric, and then it sews a cover stitch. In this case, it's a motif edge. So the first choice is, what kind of edge are you going to have? Satin, motif, or blanket? And so I went with blanket. It gives it more of a handmade look. You have all kinds of things that you can control, like, do you want the placement line, do you want the tack down, and do you want the finish? So you can uncheck those and have those steps left out if you want to. If you go to something like a satin edge, then you've got further capabilities to control things like the density or the width of that applique. So right now it starts out at 3 millimeters wide. If I make it 4, it'll go wider. And that's kind of the way it works. So down here, see sew underlay. When you do a satin border, if you click here, it will add an underlay layer to the stitching of the border, so that it has kind of like that extra layer right there. So there's a lot of variety. You can really kind of custom tailor your applique. I want you to imagine that this applique was going to be, maybe you wanted your ice cream to look really fuzzy. I don't know why you would want fuzzy ice cream, but let's just say you were going to use fleece, and you know that the fleece is really thick and it's hard to trim around it. And when that first run stitch, that second run stitch sews around it, you're meant to trim around this brown stitch right here. But if you're worried that the fleece is going to poke out of your column at the end, see, there's where you've trimmed around, and there's the border. What I'm telling you is you can use the inset. So instead of going 50-50 down the center of the shape, if I make it 70 and click apply, it puts, well, that would be the opposite. So that wouldn't work good for fleece, but it might work good for organza. But for fleece, you might want to go the other way. So let's try 30, click apply. And so what happens is it moved the cut line more towards the inside of the shape, and it basically brought the border further away from what you cut. So if you're ever cutting something and it's not getting covered, so this is what I'm trying to point out. There's a lot of variety on how you do it. The one that I made, I did a blanket edge. I did a blanket edge for both pieces. So applique with a blanket edge. And then I used my digital cutting machine to actually cut out. So I did File, Save As, and saved it as a PES file, called it ice cream cone, or whatever machine format you need. Now the artwork shapes, so if you want to make the SVG of it all, convert it back to artwork and go File, Save As, and this time choose SVG format. So save the artwork as SVG in the matching size to the PES file. So they match, they're the same size shapes. And then you use your digital cutting machine to cut the fabric. And so when you sew your ice cream cone, you have these pre-cut out pieces. And I usually use my Floriani Applique Wonder to make it easy, because first of all, putting the applique wonder on the back of the pink fabric makes it nice and easy to cut it out with a digital cutting machine. You know, it's very secure. It won't move. It sticks down to the mat nice and easy. It cuts really clean. And then what you do is you peel off the waxy kind of transfer paper, and what you've got is a sticky stabilizer on the back of your piece. So now you basically have a sticky backside, and you can stick it down, stick it right over top of the little run stitch kind of tracing, you know, that run stitch sews around. And you'll notice that when you cut them with your digital cutting machine, they're exactly the same shape. That run stitch sews, and that pre-cut thing fits exactly inside of it. Now, when you push start, it does the border, you know, it does the rest of your design. Then you put the next applique. So it does one applique complete, and then the next applique complete, you know, and then if you want to put initials or something else on your ice cream cone, go ahead, add to that. But that's what the little blanket stitch edge looks like, and how beautifully accurate it fits around your applique shapes when you pre-cut them like that. This is the kind of more of an alternative method to making an applique, where you use a pre-cut method, or sorry, not a pre-cut method, but a cut during sewing method. So in the pre-cut method, we use the cutting machine and we basically sew the run stitch and then stick it down. In the cut during sewing method, you place your fabric over top of the area, and when you sew the run stitch outline and the machine stops, you trim the fabric around that fabric, around that shape, and then it continues on to do the cover stitch. Now, in that case, I like a satin cover because I've trimmed that fabric and it gives kind of like a nice clean edge to it. So basically, if you're in the software and you're doing the ice cream cone, now, and there's a little trick to it this time. So watch, I'll select both pieces and convert them both to applique. So I've got two applique pieces. One is the ice cream and one is the cone. Oh, actually, now if you do them all together, it combines them like all one applique. So notice what I did. I converted them both at the same time, and so it's doing them at the same time. Two placement lines, two cut around lines, and then two borders. So that's actually kind of an interesting thing to note, because it is different if I go undo and I select the ice cream. Sorry, take my select tool and select the ice cream and convert that into an applique, and then select the cone and convert that into an applique. It will do them independently. It will do color stop 1 for the ice cream, color stop 2 for the ice cream, and then color stop 3 for the ice cream, and then color stop 4, 5, and 6 to do the cone. So now another thing you might want to know about when you're doing something like this is, so let's take the ice cream and make it so after the cone. So I'll resequence it. So I just click and drag to make the ice cream come later, and then I'll take that ice cream and I'll actually make it so over top of the cone. See what I've done? And it's like basically gonna have kind of like a layer of overlap, where if it sewed like this, it would do the brown and then it would do the pink, and there might be kind of an extra bit of bulk where there was like two borders. And so what you can do is you can select both pieces, both applique shapes, and now right click and say remove overlaps. And see what that's done? So if you watch it stitch out now, it'll do the first, the cone same as always, only it's trimmed it to match the ice cream, and it does not do the cover stitch underneath the ice cream. It only has, so now when we do the ice cream, they're perfectly matching each other's shapes, and the ice cream is basically trimmed the cone, and the cone has no cover stitch to match, so it gets rid of that kind of extra bulk in that area there. So that's another great tip for doing applique, is the remove overlaps where there's two applique shapes that fit together. So yeah, that's my kind of topic about doing ice cream. And so I know it's a lot in one class and we're kind of coming down to the end. I'm going to do one more topic and talk to you guys. We'll take a few questions, but one more topic for today is kind of a fun and easy one to finish up with. It's the You Design It tool. If you haven't seen it before and if you haven't figured it out, let me just quickly show you what it does. The You Design It tool is what we call interactive stock designs. It's up here in this specialty tool group right here where it says You Design It. It's sort of like a little purple, kind of looks like the Michelin Man. When you click on that tool, it opens up a wizard and everybody has these monsters. Now the monsters come with the software. And so you can scroll through, look at the different monster bodies, and then whatever one you click on is updated. And now notice the little magnets. And so now I've got the ability to decide what his left arm or his right arm is going to look like. And you can decide what's on his head and what kind of feet he gets. And so if you knew you just wanted to see the feet, you could say, just show me the left legs and, just show me the right leg. So these are all kind of like little filters that you can put on. But when you're done, you've created a monster. If you click play, it will make monsters for you. It'll just start kind of at randomly making monsters. If you really like one, just stop it and then say, okay. And it'll make the monster for you and put it on your screen. And so those are called You Design It collections. Once the monster has been made, you can still select his hand. You can, rotate it or resize it. Whoops, that's not his hand, that's its head. So here, how about undo and then try that again. If I was going to, select the hand and then rotate it a little bit and maybe flip it to face the other way, well, not the other way that way, the other way this way, and then make it look like he's waving or something like that. And so kind of fun. So even though we didn't make the monster, I can still use the editing tools of the software like I did. Change the kind of stitch, change the orientation or size, make them bigger, smaller. So You Design It. Everybody got the monsters, but you can get more. And I have them all. So when I click on my You Design It tool, there are other ones. You can collect them over time. They're like stock design collections. Just so, for example, if I click on kids pockets, now I have different pocket shapes and I have different pocket toppers. Funky flowers. So now you're going to choose your flower stem and then it's going to give you magnets. You're going to choose your flower, type, scroll down, choose your leaves, that kind of thing. Yeah. So in the You Design It collections, there are 15 of them in total, and probably a nice way to show them to you guys, and I think I have this on my desktop here. You Design It. Yes, I do. So this will show you all of the different You Design It collections. There was a promotion. This video, you might watch it when it's over, but for a limited time, they were included as like a special bonus when you bought the software. But for most of us, they were something that you could buy. These are the 15 collections that we have so far. The Clothesline collection, the Fun Frames collection, the Funky Flowers collection, Kids Pockets, Circle Monograms, monster trucks. And so the idea is you choose your monster truck body, you choose who's in the window, what's on the hood, what's on the tail, what kind of tires, what kind of hubcaps, that kind of thing, and you build your monster trucks. Pocket full of notions, robots, snowmen, split kids, mascots, stick figures, sweet blossoms, clothesline. That says clothesline, but it looks like a train to me. So that is the train engine, but the title's wrong. Because there is one that's train engines. And so same idea. Choose your train car, choose who's on the car, who's in the window. There's all kinds of cool text frames. What kind of wheels do they have? That kind of stuff. Yeah. Vesna jars. So these are the collections. If you're interested in knowing more, you have to contact a Floriani dealer and they can help you with getting, one of those collections, you guys. But so, all right, I hope you're having fun. I hope you're enjoying these classes. We have new classes coming up. So FTCU workshop number 1, class number 15, that's the challenge review. That's on June the 2nd. If you want to participate, send in your design to me by basically May the 30th. And then we have a class number 4 in the series. So I've already planned class number 4. I've got my notes here already. We're going to talk about assets, and we're going to talk about motifs and how to create your own custom thread charts, lace, custom work, and a bunch more. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. All right, now I'm going to click on my questions box and see how everybody's doing in here today. And so, hi, Suzanne. She says, can you bring in vector artwork and save as a Wordplay object? Yes, that's exactly correct, Suzanne. In fact, that's generally what you need to make a Wordplay is artwork. And so if you have your own, like, so for example, the little black cat, remember the little black cat that I made? It's an artwork that I drew, but you can open them, right? Like, could the ice cream cone be a Wordplay shape? Yeah. Could the cat be a Wordplay shape? Yeah. So how do you do that? So first of all, if you find the shape on the internet in like SVG format, open it up. That's where this black cat came from. It was an SVG black cat. Let's get rid of the ice cream. So I just have on my screen, I just have a black cat. It's artwork. I could have opened any SVG file to get to this point. Now, if you want this to be able to work with your Wordplay tool, you need to use Tools and then Save Wordplay Shape. And that will add the cat. So let's just call it cat. Oh, you got cat 02, cat 03, and cat. So let's call it cat space 004. I don't know what 1 and 2 are going to be, but now we got 3 and 4 in there, or 4 in there. Okay, so now when I click on the Wordplay tool and I look under here, we should have a one called cat. Oh, here it is, cat 004. Now the cat's kind of small at 4 inches, and so let's make my cat 9 inches and put on here kitty. And what are your nicknames for your kitty? You know what, doesn't matter, but put in your kitty words. I don't know, soft, fun, crazy, smelly. You decide what words go in your kitty cat. Let's start with like a 1/2 inch size for the letters as the maximum, and then go down to about, 50% of that for the smallest ones. Let's just do horizontal only lettering and 2 colors and see what it looks like. I don't know. Never tried it before, but the skinny legs are going to probably be the hard part for putting text into. That's the kind of challenge of the shape is what I'm trying to say. The bigger you make the cat and the smaller you make the letters, the more letters that you're going to fit down into these little body crevices like this. So I'm not real sure what exactly is going to happen here. We'll see in a minute. It's processing, and so we'll find out once it's done generating the text, different text paths, but yeah. So it went around the horn and sort of on the second stage of generating. So the answer is yes, you can get any artwork, whether you draw it or whether you download it or find it, in some place or somebody gives it to you. If it's artwork and you can open it, in like an SVG file, then you can save it to your Wordplay shapes or your custom shapes. Yeah. Anyhow, I got just gonna be patient with it. 9 inches by 7, almost 7 inches. So it's quite a big kitty cat. So there's room for lots of words in there. Oh. Not really sure that we got any good results out of that. Huh. We didn't get anything but artwork. Interesting. I wonder, I'll have to do some testing with that to see what's up with that. Now I'm doing my other job here as the software manager for R&K, and you pick up your little kitty cat, and I made it larger because instinctually I thought I was worried about the... Anyway, you guys, I'm thinking out loud why that didn't work out and what we might need to change. So, well, we'll see if I can kind of solve it up here. 9 inches. I'll just leave it at any and see. Like, it worked really hard on horizontal, and it got... At some point, it got kind of confused because it just came back with almost like no results. Now I just have it putting the words word and play at the default settings, which was 0.79, so bigger letters. I didn't limit it to horizontal only. Oh, and I didn't change that minimum scale. It's left because the 10% allows it to make the smallest size letters, which will help it to get to some of these smaller areas. So we'll see. And if it fails, it fails. I'll turn it in as feedback, you know, for kind of like development work. Yeah, so here it comes. Let's just wait for the results and see what happens. But I know that you can create your own custom shapes, so I'm theorizing that this has nothing to do with the fact that the kitty was something that I made. Because I can show you another one that I did in class. We did a cool check mark shape, like a teacher's check mark, and then filled it in with words, and that was no problemo. Yeah, no, I got the same problem there, so I will definitely come back to what's happening with the kitty. You know what I'm wondering is maybe it's holes. Yeah. That is something I can't say that I've fully tested before, is can I have a wordplay shape? Notice that all of our wordplay shapes don't typically have a hole in the shape. Do any of them have a voided out area? Yeah. Yeah, I'll work on this, you guys. I'm sort of doing my work out loud here. Yeah, the cup does. I don't know. I'm trying to decide why it's having troubles. And like I was telling you guys earlier, the Wordplay tool is scheduled for an update, for an enhancement, so that you can actually put commas in. And that'll be coming out in the next build in sometime around June of 2021. Well, while this works away and I just sort of, curiosity is killing me as to what's happening with the kitty, I'll have to play some more and figure out how to resolve that or whether I can get something fixed on it. But that said, I can guarantee you that you can take a shape, like a general shape anyway. I'm not going to say that it's going to work with highly complicated shapes where you have a lot of words. It just, and maybe we could get it to work with that, but we need to give more examples of it. I've never really tried to do anything overly complex other than kind of basic shapes like this. So I can't even say that I've finished one that had holes. So it does at least accept shapes with holes. As you can say, unless I make this cup bigger or my text smaller, it's not going to be able to fit words kind of around this part here. So I'm not sure what was up with the kitty and why it was an issue. I thought maybe perhaps because of the little eyes. I'm actually not really sure, so I'll have to take a look and see further. But in answer to your question, yes, absolutely, you can use any shape that you want to. So yeah. Bruce said, could the problem be because it was filled? Well, maybe, Bruce. Let me take a look. I don't really know that was. So here's the original cat. Let's unfill it. Here, we can all do my job together. So now we're going to take our little kitty cat. I think I know the answer to this, but I don't want to assume an answer. So I'm going to say save the kitty as a wordplay shape. We'll call it cat number 5. I will admit that I don't create new wordplay shapes every day, and so I could have it wrong. Let's now go ahead and try it again. So click on the little tool. So there's the outlined kitty cat. And let's just hit generate, not even worry about making it bigger or smaller. Let's just try and put the word and play in and see if maybe Bruce has it. It seems like a logical suggestion, Bruce. Just hadn't occurred to me yet. But when we save our wordplay shapes, maybe they need to be set to be not filled in. Because then when it's filled in, the software doesn't find the inside boundary. Yeah, so then maybe it was looking at the inside of the eyes and trying to figure what it could put in there. I'm not even sure how that would go, but okay. So we're kind of like just down to the last moments of checking out whether or not this fixes it or not. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to let it rest. And if it does, then I'm going to give all the props to Bruce. Anyway, you guys, I am excited about the next update to the Floriani software. I can't tell you about all the new things, but I've already received the first kind of copy of it, and I've been testing it. And so, yeah, look at that, Bruce, you got it. That was the issue. It was that I saved it filled in. And, you know, I don't think I ever, if I knew that before, I did not remember it. So thank you for helping me learn that. And we sorted the whole problem out before we kind of got through to the end of class. So good job to everybody that kind of got involved. Thanks a lot. Yeah, let me see. I'll just pop my questions back up, make sure there aren't any more comments in here like that. So yeah. Julie asked if I needed spaces after the comma. You don't need a space after the comma. You can just put comma, word, comma, word, comma, word. Thank you for asking. In the future, it'll actually accept the comma and the space. So if you want to put like a word that's like too big and you need the comma in between the two and the big, you can, so then it'll be line breaks. You'll actually hit enter and it's a different entering box that I'm working with right now. Just trialing the next version that'll come out in about a month. So yeah. Well, thanks so much to everybody for all your questions in the comment box and for attending today's class live. I sure hope you enjoyed today's class. Like I was telling you, our next class is on June the 2nd. I've already sent the invitation to that class. If you've already registered, then you probably got a notification that I updated the class date. Then our next class after that is a brand new class, workshop number 1, quick start class number 4, and that's on June the 22nd, and I will include the invitation to attend that class live when I send out the download for today's class. I'll also be posting this class to YouTube and eventually so that you guys can share it with your friends. In the meantime, guys, thank you so very much for all of your support. Thanks for attending today's class live. I hope you had a wonderful time. Until next time, have a great day and bye for now.